I did this one test where I like was there for like 2 hours all wired up and everything came back normal. And that's the frustrating thing too. There's so many times where they would say like, yeah, everything came back normal. I'm like, okay, but I don't feel normal.
I
don't feel like that. And I think usually people are like, oh, that's a relief when your test results come back normal. But there's this weird thing when you know you're feeling something, you're like, okay, but I don't feel normal. So I want it to show up on a test. But the concussion symptoms, nothing showed up on a test or on a scan.
CarmenRose Fiallo, welcome to Invisible Impact.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much for being here. Really excited to chat.
Me too.
CarmenRose is a migraine advocate, is posting some amazing content on social media, help this community feel more seen and heard, and really look forward to hearing your experiences and advice that you have for everybody. So I think, like we do, we want to dive right in and get into your concussion history and hear a little bit about how you've gotten to where you are now. So if you wouldn't mind sharing, and you have like the 2 concussions, you want to kind of walk us through that.
Yeah. So as you said, migraine advocate now, but what led to that and what predated that was my concussion. So in college, actually, and growing up, I did dance. I didn't do a lot of impact sports where I was familiar with concussions. I didn't have a lot of understanding of concussions. And when I got to college, I got a few minor concussions, went to student health. They one time told me to, stay off your screens, nothing much, just they were like rest. And there wasn't really anything they could do. There's no medication, no real protocol. And then the summer before my senior year of college, it was 7-Eleven. I remember because I'd gotten a Slurpee that day. It was like the free Slurpee day. And I was driving back from 7-Eleven and I got T-boned by a Ford F-150. I got T-boned by this massive truck. And I just remember I was in a Jeep and the car flipped and rolled. And I remember it was 7-Eleven because there was like red slushy dripping from the top of the car. And of course I'm like, oh, I think this is blood. It was just a scary moment. And I'm like on the side. And I like climb out of the car, and thankfully the outside of the car was wrecked, but it was a pretty tough car, so I was fine for the most part. I walked off, and like my collarbone hurt, but I think I really was just like in shock. And I remember the EMT saying like, you should go to the emergency room. I was like, yeah, I feel fine. I think again it was the adrenaline rushing, and I was like, I feel fine. I ended up going to urgent care, and again they were just like, you probably have a concussion, just rest. They gave me like a wrist brace, and they said, just like ice your collarbone. It didn't hit me until the next morning. I remember, thankfully, I had friends stay with me. We were staying in my college town that summer before our senior year. And I just vividly remember that next morning, my friend and I were making breakfast, and we were in the kitchen, we were at the table, and she said, oh, can you get eggs from the fridge? I walk over to the fridge, and in those 5 seconds, I opened the fridge, and I was like, what did I come here for? And I had completely forgotten in those 5 seconds. And I just vividly remember that moment being like, oh, yeah, something's not right. Like, this is not okay. My attention span was so short. My memory was so short. And so thankfully, because I was in an accident, because I was hit, like I was required to do some medical care. So again, I was in my college town. It wasn't the best, but I went to a hospital and really all they did was check my reflexes. I just remember they would have this like hockey puck on a stick and I would drop it and then see how quick I could catch it. And that's all I did. It wasn't like treatment. It wasn't like rehabilitation. They really were just like testing my skills every time I came in. And so I did that like once a week, every week for like a month. And again, this was the summer before my senior year. I wasn't working. And so luckily I was really resting, but again, I wasn't getting any treatment. And it wasn't really, they were just again saying, rest, it'll get better. I was explaining to them, I'm having nausea, vision problems, I'm getting some headaches, and really like my memory is just terrible. I'm like having such awful short-term memory. And again, a lot of times it's like, yeah, just rest, stay off screens and it'll get better. It'll get better. They just kept saying it'll get better. And I feel like too, that was the first time I really started to think about like sensory input. Like I'd never really thought, I think the younger generations like Gen X, Gen Alpha talk a lot about like being overstimulated. And I had never thought about that kind of language before I had this concussion. And suddenly like every light was so bright and every screen was so bright. I felt like I could smell everything super strongly. Like my hearing was so sensitive. Just all the sensory inputs were so intense. So thankfully that summer I was watching a friend's dog. She was working for the summer and it ended up being a blessing in disguise because I just like stayed in bed with the dog all summer. In dark lights, I like had to get the blackout shades, everything. Yeah. And so it happened at the beginning of July, and then it was like mid-August, and I was like, all right, I'm supposed to start my senior year in a month. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And what ended up happening was I felt like towards the end of August, I started to get better. And I went to visit my brother in Minnesota. And at the time, he was working, doing canoeing outdoor trips, and we were taking these canoes out. and one of his friends hit me in the head with a metal canoe, and I just like instantly threw up.
Oh.
And it was like instant. It was even worse than the car accident, like in the moment. And thankfully, our eye doctor, my optometrist, was on the trip with us because he's a family friend. And he was like, yeah, I think your concussions have probably compounded on each other, because I felt like I was just starting to feel a little bit better. And so then I was like, okay, yeah, this is really serious. And again, like, we'll talk about this more, I'm sure, but it's a lot invisible. So it's not like
Sure.
you see bruises, or it's not like it's broken bones where it's really easy to visibly see, okay, I'm healing. Like, it was worse last week, now it's better. It's really hard. And I also felt like my symptoms changed week to week. So like, sure, maybe my nausea got better, but then my headaches got worse, and everything I felt just kind of changed. And so I really wasn't aware, like, if I was getting better and how things were. And so once I had the second concussion compounded, I was like, yeah, this is getting pretty serious. And so I ended up having to take the fall term of my senior year off. I was in a sorority at the time. I had to drop out because I wasn't taking classes, and I couldn't be a part of it because I wasn't taking classes. But again, I was thinking about that on the way here, and I was like, yeah, it was serious enough that I didn't even consider, like, no, you know what, I'm just going to push through and I'm going to stick it out. I want to stay in the sorority. I want to keep working. I want to go to school. I just remember it being so bad. It was like, that was my only option. It was almost like I might move home. And thankfully I had roommates and my parents helped me out. And I had an on-campus job at the time. So I still worked part-time that fall term my senior year, but I couldn't take classes. I was like, there's no way. And I was at a state school. So I was in like big classes of like 300 people. Mm-hmm. And I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm going to be able to sit in these lectures for hours and then go home and do these tests and homework. It was just really hard. So I ended up taking the fall term of my senior year off of college, and again, just really rested. And nobody ever told me about post-concussion syndrome. I ended up looking it up. I just remember Googling one day, like, what does it mean if your concussions and symptoms aren't going away? Because again, they were like, right, give it 3 months, give it 6 months, it'll go away, it'll get better. And I was like, I don't think it's getting better. I think I'm just learning to live with it. Like, I'm just used to waking up with a headache or used to the nausea, right? Like, I would try ginger. I just gave myself my own little remedies and started to live around it. And it started to become my normal, but it just never went away. And so I started looking at post-concussion syndrome and was starting to read about it. And I was like, oh yeah, there is something about, like, if they don't go away, it's not just like for everyone. It's like 3-6 months, you're good.
Right.
And so I learned about that, and then I finally started seeing a neurologist, and that's when it was really helpful. But yeah, I hadn't heard about it before. It's invisible, and that's the thing too. The invisible part's really hard because anything I was feeling, like, I had to express. Like, it's like you would look at me, and maybe I looked tired, maybe my eyes looked puffy, but it wasn't like, oh, she's feeling nauseous. Oh, her head's hurting. Oh, the sensory stuff is too much. None of it was visible. So it was really hard having to advocate for myself and, like, tell my friends, like, no, I might look fine, but I really don't feel fine right now. So it really started my journey of self-advocacy. But it all started with a couple concussions throughout college, then the car accident, then they compounded on each other.
Wow. I'm so sorry that you had to go through that. That sounds so challenging, especially that second concussion when you're already not feeling, it's just like, right? Are you serious?
Yeah.
I want to ask you about when you said you didn't feel like you had a choice, like you couldn't have done school. That really resonated with me, with my experience. There just wasn't a world that so many of the things I'm like, even if I want to, like, there's no chance. Like, I actually cannot do it.
Yeah.
Can you describe a little bit more of, like, what you were feeling at the time and, like, how your brain felt and what you're going through?
Yeah. Again, like, I had, it was my senior year. So it's like your last year of college, like the year, and it was my first year living off campus in a house with friends. I was so excited. So again, like, I wanted so badly to just go back to normal, and it just, like, I just remember it not even being an option. Like, I was like, well, I might just have to, like, quit school and move home. And thankfully I was only an hour and a half away from my parents. But I was like, I might have to move home. And I just signed this lease. And I just remember being like, yeah, there's no other choice. Like, this, it's so debilitating. Like, I could barely get through doing work. And again, I was working part-time, this on-campus job, and my boss was very flexible. But I was like, the demanding schedule of going to college and, like, having 8 a.m.s and having tests, and there's just not enough breaks in that kind of lifestyle. And it was just so debilitating. It was like, I felt like, I've talked a lot about how I feel like migraine's like a part-time job. And I felt like having a concussion, like, right after also felt like a whole part-time job, like, to take care of myself. I was like, there's just no way. And really the biggest thing was, like, light. Like, I just remember that summer I had the blackout shades, and I was just, like, in my room all the time, just with the shades drawn, like, in the dark, barely on my phone, like, really just to, like, call people. I remember that summer my best friend just sent me cards like every week because she knew I couldn't be on screen. So she'd send me like handwritten cards that I could
That's
read.
so sweet.
And I found those the other day. That was really sweet. But yeah, I wasn't on my screens. And that's the thing too, like so much of going to college was on screens and like being on your computer, being on your phone, looking at the screens and like during lectures. And it just every time, even if I felt like woke up feeling fine, getting on my computer and looking at screens and then being in fluorescent lighting and being in a class full of people and all that stimulation was just too much for my brain to handle. And even if I woke up feeling well, once I like started taking in stimulation, I started to get a headache and I started feeling not well. And I just knew I was like, I either can take this time off and I have a shot at these symptoms going away or learning to really manage it, or if I push through, like I really don't think they're ever going to go away. And I was like, it can't get any, like I cannot live with this for the rest of my life. So I was like, I just have to, like that's how strong it was that I just had to put my life on pause and say, I have to put myself in this dark room and just really treat myself, especially because I wasn't getting a lot of help. And a lot of people were just like, yeah, just it'll come back. It'll come back. I had a lot of memory loss and they just were like, yeah, it'll come back. Everything will come back. And I was like, do I just wait? And one day like, boop, it comes. Like, so I really just told myself, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to, put myself on bed rest kind of. And just, again, like it really didn't feel like there was another option because it was so debilitating.
Right. It's like your body was like, hey, you have to stop.
Yeah.
I can't do it.
I could not do it. Yeah.
Right. Once you started seeing the neurologist, then what changed for you?
For the neurologist, it was really helpful. I also did a lot of research because I wanted to go and prepare because I think I'd had so many issues before where it felt like I was being dismissed or just wasn't taken seriously. So I wanted to be really, really certain about what my symptoms were and describing it in the right way and making sure that the severity of it was very clear. And so I took my time, did my research, and found this great neurologist and talked to her about, I said, look, I've had these concussions. I know about post-concussion syndrome. Like I came in telling her, like, this is what I'm dealing with. Instead of coming in like, oh, I think this is what it is. Like I came in and told her, like, this is what I've been feeling. This is what I'm dealing with. Like, what do we do? And thankfully, it was a lot of what I had already been doing and just like being careful of the stimulation and different things. And it was really just learning to live life in a new way. There wasn't a lot of like, okay, take this medicine or do this exact thing. It was a lot of just treating my brain like it was a broken bone. Like I kind of almost had to picture it like I did have a cast on, or like I had a boot or it was in a sling or something. And I was going through this recovery process. And the truth is, like, if I did break my arm, like I wouldn't have used that arm. I wouldn't have written with it. I wouldn't have done sports. Like it would have been so much more obvious to be like, yeah, I'm just not going to use this body part while it heals. And it's hard because it's your brain. You use that for everything. Like you use your head all the time. We're using our eyes, our ears, everything. But I really had to tell myself, like, I just have to not use, it was like essentials only. Like I told my friends, it was like essential only. Like if once I did go back to school, I still did like a lower workload. Like I ended up doing my senior year in like 5 terms. I did it past like the spring term when I was supposed to graduate. I got my participation award and then finished a couple terms later and just took it really slow. Like I did half load of courses and just took it really slow and kind of treated myself like my brain was in a sling or like it was broken, and just had to take it really light. But the senior neurologist was really helpful because she was so knowledgeable about the brain and how it works. And I was very clear that I know what I'm feeling and these are the things I'm going through. And I think that's the thing is since it's invisible, you like have to be a good advocate for yourself because she couldn't see it all. And we did some brain scans and those kind of things, but sometimes it doesn't pop up. Like there's not a brain bleed, you know what I mean? There's no different, like my brain looked normal. I did this one test where I like was there for like 2 hours all wired up and everything came back normal. And that's the frustrating thing too. There's so many times where they would say, like, yeah, everything came back normal. I'm like, okay, but I don't feel normal. Like I don't feel like that. And I think usually people are like, oh, that's a relief when your test results come back normal. But there's this weird thing when you know you're feeling something, you're like, okay, but I don't feel normal. So I want it to show up on a test. But the concussion symptoms, nothing showed up on a test or on a scan. And so I had to get really clear about explaining my symptoms. And I tracked a diary so I could tell her, like, this is how often I'm feeling stuff. This is the frequency, the severity, because, again, it was all invisible. So I had to convince her and tell her about my experience because she couldn't see any of it.
That's so hard. And that like my like heart like hurts for you. Like as someone with an injured brain, like we shouldn't be the ones that are having to advocate when we're already like having such a hard time. But unfortunately that is the reality in so many different situations. I'm glad that you were able to do that and like get the help and the guidance that you deserve. What would you say to someone, because I feel like how hard during college. That's like such an important time, such a fun time. I have like a million different questions for that, but specifically the like how you just got through it and taking it slow. I actually have a few people that I've tried to help mentor that are like, hey, I want to do college. But how do I do this? Like, how do I modify? Like, how do I make it work? Like, what were some of the things that really, I know you said taking it slow, but what were some of the things that really helped you?
So definitely my support system. Like, I think at the time, and I think a lot of this has come with age. And like, I think at the time, I definitely, like when I was in my early 20s and going through college, I think I really just wanted to do what everyone else was doing. I wanted to stay at the same speed as them. And what I've realized with a lot of time is like the right people will understand it. And if people don't understand, then I don't need to, you know, keep them in my life, which is hard in college because you're friends with a lot of people. They're just you're all doing the same thing. You're in the same city. And so I felt like I was having a very different experience than everyone else. But thankfully I had really great friends. But I think, the way to modify it definitely like I finished my spring term on campus. And when I went home, I ended up doing classes online. And so that was really helpful for me, is that was more self-paced. So again, I say you take like 10 credits in a normal term, I was doing like 5. So because I knew that if I push myself too hard, that like I might not be able to finish it all. And I was like, oh, if I push myself too hard and it gets really bad, I might not come back from that and be able to finish school. So I told myself, I was like, you know what, better late than never. So I'm just going to take it slow. And I did, again, like half of capacity terms. Like I didn't do as many classes. I started doing some stuff online, and I still like got to walk at graduation, because as long as you're finishing within 2 terms, you can walk. So I still got to walk with my friends, but then I was doing classes online over the summer. I did them the next fall term. And so I really worked with my guidance counselor at the time and therapist, and just was like, what's the minimum I can do to stay enrolled and be on track, but like still be going towards my goal, but not doing too much. And again, I'm really glad I did that, because I think that if I had pushed myself too much, I might not have finished at all. My symptoms might have gotten even worse. So it's really hard at the time. And when I think back about it, I'm like, wow, I'm really glad I took it seriously, because it's hard at that age. Like,
no, it's so wise. I'm like blown away that you knew.
Yeah. And that's what I mean. When I was thinking about it this morning on the way here, I'm like, yeah, it really was that bad. Cause I think too, with time, things, you forget how bad things were. And I was really rethinking it, and I was like, wow, you really were going into your senior year. You were in a sorority, you had all this stuff going, and you still chose not to do it. I was like, yeah, it was that bad. And again, you forget. Like when I think back about it, I'm like, yeah, it was bad, but it wasn't that bad. And then I'm like, no, I really took my fall term off. Like it was my senior year. I had to drop out of commitments. I'd been in the sorority 4 years, and I had to drop out completely. But that's how bad it was. And I think when I think back about it, I'm like, yeah, that's how severe it is. And I think it's hard for a lot of people that haven't dealt with concussions. And sometimes it's hard when I watch like sports and I see athletes come back after like a week, or even like they like are back the next game after a concussion. Like it's like I almost can't watch football because it's hard for me, and like my head hurts thinking about it, because I'm like, you need like at least a month. Right. You got hit in a serious way. And I mean, I took 3-4 months off that fall term, and I still was dealing with stuff. It was just a lot better. So when I see people not take that much time, it like really hurts my head thinking about it, because and I just also feel like our brain's not something to play with. Like I knew that it wasn't the same as a bone. We're like, okay, I'll put it in a cast and it'll heal. Like I think the fact that I couldn't see it made me take it even more seriously, and just knowing my brain is in charge of everything. So it's not like, okay, I break my left arm, but I'm right-handed, so I can just keep writing with my right and we keep going. I was like, if my brain isn't functioning at 100% and I don't really give her the time to rest, like it impacts everything. It impacts how I see, everything. And I think too, I really noticed like my thinking, I felt like my thought process was a lot slower, and it was hard for me to recall stuff. And I think that was really scary. I was like, oh, I'm just
really scary,
not operating at the same level. And like, things that I used to know, like just I couldn't recall, or like it would take me a really long time to find certain words. And that kind of stuff is really scary. It's not like yes, the headaches and the nausea is really scary, but it's when I couldn't recall things or talk about things that I used to be able to. Like I was like, oh, I used to talk about that 6 months ago. Now I'm like having a hard time finding the words, or like I can't remember. My friends would tell me things and I'm like, oh, I don't remember that. Like things that would have happened like a month before the accident, I like couldn't remember because my memory was affected. And that was really, I was like, oh yeah, no, I can't play with this, because it's your brain, it's very serious. So I really leaned into just like taking my time and doing things at a slower speed, because when it's your brain, it's just really scary. I think it's like the invisible part that's so scary about it, because you can't see it, but once you start noticing how your reacting and moving through the world differently, that's what's really scary.
Right. And it's like, am I going to be like this forever?
Right. So I was like, oh, I need to slow down because I don't want it to be like this forever. And when it started to not go away after like a month or two, that's when I was like, oh yeah, no, this can't be like this for life. So I really need to slow down, take the time, and I think thankfully it was tough in college, but now I think about like a corporate job, I think that'd be even harder, right? You can take short-term disability and those kind of things, but like I have bills now and I have rent and
right.
like thankfully I was in college and I had my parents' help. And again, I was an hour and a half away from home. So if I really needed to, I could have moved home. But like I was splitting rent with some friends. It was a college house. Like it was very cheap. So I didn't have as many responsibilities. So thankfully, as hard as it was socially, I'm really glad it wasn't, when I'm living in New York City.
Right.
But yeah, I just really knew that I had to slow down or else it felt like, oh, this could go on forever.
And speaking to that social part, it's kind of really dig into next. Like you talk about navigating the school part, like taking it slow, giving yourself breaks, like giving yourself time to like actually succeed rather than push so hard. Mm-hmm. What were the social challenges during that time and how did you navigate it?
Yeah, it was really hard because I wasn't drinking, I wasn't partying. That's what I mean. And you turn 21 usually like your junior, senior year of college, and so that's what you're like so excited for. You're so looking forward to. Sure. I feel like you're like playing pretend adult when you're in college, especially your senior year. Like your parents aren't there, but you don't have full responsibilities of life. But you have a house. You're like playing adult, and so it was really fun. But I just knew, and there was a couple times I tried to push myself out and like go out and party with friends, and I just felt awful. Yeah. I just felt terrible. So it was never worth it because even if I pushed myself to go, I wasn't having fun like everyone else was. So I was like, okay, what's the point just to show up and be here? But I feel awful. And again, nobody could tell. Right. Nobody knows I'm sitting there. Oh, I'm like nauseous. I'm starting to get a headache. Oh, these flashing lights are bothering me. Everyone talking is bothering me. And then I feel like it just made me like irritable. And so there was a lot of, and I heard other people in episodes talking about like personality changes. Like I felt like I was changing too. And like it was making me really irritable and I just wasn't enjoying the same things. And I think especially your senior year of college and just at being 21, 22, it's a lot of really overstimulating environments. It's a lot of flashing lights, really loud noises, really loud sounds, really strong smells, and just none of that was interesting.
Sleep.
Yeah, right. No sleep. Yeah. And like, none of that was enjoyable to me anymore. So I tried a couple of times and then eventually it was like, yeah, this just isn't even enjoyable to me. This isn't, and I could tell my body was like, this is the opposite of what you need right now. And so I could only do that so many times until I realized I was like, okay, if I do this and then the next day I feel awful, I shouldn't be doing this. And it was really hard. But again, I think I luckily was like, you know what, the right people will stick around. And if you don't get it, then I don't have the time to explain it. And thankfully the right people stuck around and understood. And I had a lot of great friends that like did their own research and educated themselves about what I was going through. And again, I had friends sending me cards in the mail and like accommodating me in different ways so I could be off my screens. And I had friends come and visit me and send me meals and all those great things. But it was really, really hard socially. And it's even been hard, I still deal with symptoms now. And even as an adult, it's been really hard finding the confidence to say, like, I can't go because my head's hurting. And I think, but it's the same lesson I learned in college as an adult where it's like, oh, I can go and get drinks with you and do happy hour, but I'm not going to have a good time. I'm going to be thinking about when I can go home the whole time. My head's going to be hurting. So it's like, what's the point? I'd rather wait, give myself the rest, and then see you another day. But it's taken a really long time to get there. And I pushed myself through a lot, but eventually it's just pushing yourself through gets really uncomfortable. And I'm like, this isn't enjoyable anymore. And who am I doing this for? Because I'm not having a good time. And then, so it took a really long time to get there, but it's hard.
Right. And it's hard to show up for people in your life when you are feeling that sick too. So it's like, why am I going if I can't even act how I want to act?
Yeah.
Right.
Not show up as myself.
Yeah. And it's just really isolating, would you say?
Extremely isolating. I think the invisible part is what's so isolating. And I think the silver lining of all of this, and I've always said this, is the online community, because I feel like, again, it's invisible. So when I walk down the street, it's not like someone's like, oh, she lives with post-concussion. Oh, she has concussion symptoms. Oh, she lives with migraine. And the same way, like, I don't walk down the street and see other people and say, oh, they live with migraine. Oh, they have had a concussion. And so it's just really hard to find other people that are like that. And you often think, oh, it's just me. I'm the only one that deals with this. And that's why I started posting about my experience online. Because again, I was just in the dark in my room feeling like nobody gets this, nobody understands it. And as soon as I posted these kind of things, there were so many people from all over the country, all over the world that understood it. Also, I would get comments back like, oh, I'm sitting in the dark in my room too.
That's so cool.
And that's the beautiful part about being online is you can connect with people anywhere. It wasn't just people in my area. And so I think that's what really helped my confidence was connecting with other people, because it's super isolating. And again, it's like you don't connect with people about it unless you're willing to explain your experience again, because you don't get to see it. So I had to tell people what I was feeling, tell people what I was experiencing. So to find people that get it and you didn't have to explain it, like I didn't have to be like, explain the whole part. They just understood what it was because they knew what it was like and had gone through it. That has been the best part of it because, yeah, it's extremely isolating because it's so invisible.
Completely. It's a really challenge. I'm so glad that you found that community and that other people are able to find you and feel that validation from your experience, I'm sure. If you're looking for resources like education to help you understand what you're going through, doctor recommendations, maybe some physical therapists or vision therapists in your area, peer support to connect with someone who's been through persistent post-concussion symptoms, there's an incredible free resource that I would really love for you to check out. It's a helpline that's linked right below. You fill out a form on the website, and a member of our care team will be in touch within 2 days to learn more about you, what you've been going through, and how we can get you the help you deserve. Walk us through, then we finished college, we got through it, we took our time. What did life look like that? What symptoms do you still, like when did this like migraine part come into play where you're like, okay, well, this is really sticking around? How to catch us up?
Yeah, so then after college, I got an internship, went straight into working, stayed in Portland, Oregon, where I was from. And I felt like my memory did start to slowly come back. I was able to recall stuff. Like stuff was slowly coming back. The nausea was getting better, but the headache still persisted. And again, I think we just normalize it a lot of times. Like sometimes I would get my cycle and I'm like, oh, it's because I'm on my cycle this week, or oh, it's because I didn't sleep well, or oh, it's because I got drinks last night. And there was always a reason. And eventually I vividly remember I had my internship and I worked for the Portland Trailblazers and I used to work the games. And I remember waking up one day and I was supposed to work the game that day and I couldn't get out of bed. Like I just remember I couldn't look outside. It was so bright. My head was pounding. I was nauseous. I was like, I literally have to call out. I can't show up. And I remember thinking, okay, this is like starting to get serious. This is impacting my life. It's impacting how much I work. And thankfully, I met my current fiance at that job, and her mom lives with chronic migraine. And I think, again, it's like the connection of finding other people, because I just thought it was like, oh, this is just something you deal with. It's not that bad. I take my Advil and it kind of goes away. Or I just, sleep it off. Like a lot of times I just had to sleep it off. And it was talking to her mom that she told me about her symptoms, about how often she dealt with it. She'd seen a neurologist and all these things. And she connected me with her neurologist who had dealt with chronic migraine. And I started explaining my symptoms to the neurologist. And she's like, how often are you dealing with these symptoms? I was like, probably 20 days a month. And she's like, oh, yeah, chronic migraine's 15 plus a month. And again, I was like, oh, yeah, so that's not normal? She's like, no, it's not normal to have a headache every day and like all these symptoms. And again, I think because it's invisible, and there were probably other people experiencing it out in the world, you can't tell and you don't see it. And unless you ask somebody about it, they're not talking about it. So again, you think, oh, it's just me. This isn't something a lot of people deal with. Like, I'll just get through it. And again, especially like my age, I think when I thought of people that dealt with conditions or disability, I just picture somebody 70 plus in a wheelchair. I'm like, I didn't see myself as somebody in their 20s, post-college, like I'm supposed to be having the best time of my life.
Right.
And I didn't see any of my other friends dealing with this. And so it was really talking to my fiance's mom and her telling me about her experience and seeing the neurologist. So I saw a neurologist and got the chronic migraine diagnosis. And again, we did some scans, we did some tests, everything came back normal, which was a relief. Like my brain was functioning okay, but I was obviously dealing with stuff. And so I got my chronic migraine diagnosis, went through trying a lot of different medications, a lot of different stuff. They like start you on like stroke medication, all this other stuff. Like
been there,
yeah, right. They like start you on the cheap stuff before they get you to the really good stuff. So it was really tough at first, but I eventually got on some pretty good medicine. And again, I think I just posted more and more about my experience, because I remember one time, the very first time I got prescribed a migraine injection at home, which I was really excited about. But then I remember going home and being like, I'm not a doctor. How am I going to inject myself at home? Like, I didn't even study math and science in college. I was a liberal arts major. Like, I don't know how to do this at home. And I remember going online and looking up like video of somebody doing it, because I'm a visual learner, and if I can see someone else doing it, I feel a lot better and I know what to expect. And I couldn't find any videos of anybody doing it. And they obviously give you the instructions and explain how to do it. But so then I set my phone up and recorded myself doing it for the first time, because I was like, well, I want to show people what this is like. And again, that's part of the invisible experience, because nobody sees that. Like, unless you live with me, unless you're my partner or my parents at home with me, nobody sees you doing the injections at home. They just see you out dressed. You know, I got myself ready every day. So like, you look normal, you look fine. And so I started posting about the injections, and again, found a ton of community. And even outside of concussion and migraine, so many people do injections for different conditions. So there were so many people online. They were like, oh, this is what I do at home. And, you know, you see them out in the world and you'd have no idea. There's not like you wear a label that's like, I have migraine, I have concussion, I do my injections at home. So finding other people is what really, really helped me. But yeah, it slowly developed into chronic migraine, and it's gotten a lot better. But it was really the headaches that persisted.
Can you explain what your headaches felt like, if you can, for people who don't understand?
I think the best way to describe it is it felt like an ice pick. And I think the biggest thing was I think it changed a lot. In the beginning, right after the concussions, it was more headaches where it was like central across my face and my head was pounding, your pretty traditional stuff. But it was once it started moving into, I would start to get pain like behind a specific eye. And it was once that was coupled with other symptoms. So after the concussion, it was pretty normal for me to have a headache and nausea and all these things. I was expecting that.
Right.
But after a year, and like once the nausea and all these things had gotten better, but now I'm getting these more like headaches in a specific spot that also have the symptoms. I was like, oh, this isn't just a normal headache. This isn't like, oh, I can pop an Advil. Because even if the Advil worked, I'm still nauseous. I'm dealing with other stuff. Again, I was sensitive to all my senses. Smells were really strong. Like all the sounds were really loud. It was just really hard. I was like, yeah, I just can't pop an Advil and go through life. And it really felt like it's like, I would say like an ice pick behind my eye. And it's just this really sharp feeling. And I feel like that's the best part about finding community, is sometimes you couldn't describe it really well. And that's the best part about finding people that get it, because you're like, no, you don't even have to explain it. I get it. Like, I understand how it feels.
Sure.
Yeah.
So life today is looking, you're still dealing with some symptoms, you said. How would you say that it impacts your life still?
I think the best thing is I've really learned to accommodate myself. So when we go to concerts, when I go to sporting events, I have my noise canceling headphones. I will bring my water. I'll bring snacks. Like, I just really accommodate myself, because I used to just, especially living in New York, it's really overstimulating.
Girl, I don't know how you do it.
I know, people say that all the time. So thankfully we have access to like really great medical care here, and there's a lot of things you can do. But yeah, it's really overstimulating. There's a lot of times where there have been times where I'm like, I think sometimes some of my migraines are because of the city. Like, I have to get on the subway to get my meds. I have to go outside and all the cars are honking. I'm like, if I was in another city, I could just get in my car and be in silence, go to the prescription drive-through. I might not have gotten that migraine. But it was just really learning what works for me. And I call it like my migraine toolkit. So I just, and my therapist has told me before, she's like, oh, you'll be prepared to have a kid, because I feel like it sounds like you have a child. The way that I prepare for myself, like, I'm like, I got to pack the snacks, the water, the headphones, all these kind of things. And so I've really just learned to accommodate myself. And then I can often avoid it too, because it's like, if I didn't have those things and I'm out in this environment, then I might get a migraine. But if I am out in this overstimulating environment and I have my headphones in, and I usually wear a baseball cap because it helps with like the overhead lights, because I don't want to wear sunglasses indoors, but like the baseball cap really helps with, people love fluorescent lights and overhead lighting. It's the worst. But when I accommodate myself, then I like avoid the migraine completely. And so I have just really learned to stay on top of my stuff. Like, I always have to be hydrated. I always have to eat. But I've really learned how to treat it and how to live with it. And it's gotten a lot better. And I've learned a lot about what environments, trigger it, what environments are best and not. And again, I've just been really lucky with a lot of great support system around me and people that get it. But it's been a lot of learning how to accommodate myself.
I love that, though. I love that you're saying like, hey, I don't love it because I wish you'd never even
But
had
love
to
that I've
learn
gotten to
that.
this
But I
point.
love that
Yeah.
you've gotten to the point, and that I love that you're accepting of it. And like, I think it's such a great message for people because it can be so hard. Like, I fought it for a while. I'd be like, I don't want to wear my sunglasses.
Yeah,
I don't want to
right?
bring earplugs. I just want to be
Right?
normal. And hearing from you of like, guys, like, just do it. Like, it is
Yeah.
going to help you.
Yeah.
You can avoid your triggers. You can like, once you kind of stop like
Yeah.
fighting and being so upset that you
Yeah.
have something, and
But
just
that
being like,
phase is
all right.
so valid, by the way. Like,
Oh,
you definitely, you know what I mean?
100%,
Like,
yeah.
I went through that too. And sometimes I feel like it gets better and then I backtrack and I go back to that phase. So super valid, sat in that for a really long time and felt those feelings. And it is such a valid part of the experience. But just eventually I got to the point where I was like, okay, well, it's not going away immediately or it's not going to be fixed, boom, tomorrow. So how do I keep living my life? And I think especially being in my 20s, it was like people are going out, people are having fun, people are doing things after work. And I felt like I was missing out on a lot of life. And there are times where I still do have to miss stuff and stay at home, but I've really learned, I'm like, oh, I can go to these things and have a good time. And I think it's really learning your triggers too, because I don't get aura with migraine, which is like when people get visual changes or they get certain signals that it's coming. I don't get those. So I've had to learn a lot about, okay, if I don't know what's coming, let me think about what triggers it. It's the sound, it's the smell. Like I bring a mask with me everywhere because if somebody's smoking a cigarette, like they could be a block away and I'm going to smell it. And again, I live in New York City. I can't avoid that all the time. So I'm like, okay, if I can't avoid all these things, how do I accommodate myself? And again, it's valid to feel that anger, but it got to a point where I was like, okay, I want to live my life and I want to get out and I still want to enjoy things. And there is a way that I can enjoy it in a way that I feel okay. And it might look a little bit different than what I thought, but it's like getting out there too. It was really isolating to be in bed all day and not get out. And there's a lot of times where I was in a lot of pain and I was like, yeah, getting out's not going to feel good. I learned a lot about movement does help, even if it's just like a walk around the block with my sunglasses on, with my, headphones in, that's fine. But there's a lot of times that I was just trying to stay in to avoid things. And my therapist and I have actually done a lot of talk about how I developed a lot of fear around things. I would avoid things because I was scared I was going to get a migraine. I'm like, oh, I don't want to go to that dinner because I'll probably get a migraine. And there were times that I did, but there were also times where I was like, okay, but if I eat well all day and I drink my water and I have my electrolytes and I prepare and I, wear a comfortable outfit and I, bring everything I need, I can still go and do these things. So it took a long time to get there. And, again, like I said, sometimes I still go back and I'm still angry about these things because I think the biggest thing is like I have to be really regulated. Like if I oversleep, sometimes I get a headache. If I don't drink water, I get a headache. If I miss a meal, I might get a headache. And sometimes it's frustrating because I'm like, I want to sleep in on the weekends. I want to, like, oh gosh, if I forget my water bottle, like I want to have that not impact me. All these little things that sometimes it's really frustrating. And again, that's valid, but I've really learned, okay, if I stay on top of my things and really take care of myself, then I can get through and it can be manageable.
That's so relatable. I feel that too. It's like I have to be so disciplined. Like you said, part-time job. Like I'm like the manager of my life and all the things. And sometimes I'm like, I feel like it went in a group. It's like, oh, I'm annoying my friend. Like, you just have to, like you said, it's so valid. We kind of have to get over that to just be like, but this is what we have to do. Mm-hmm. And this is, everybody has their thing. This is our thing.
Right.
This is how we can get through the day feeling the best.
Mm-hmm.
And also I'm so interested in that emotional part of it. You said working through that, like the fear of getting a migraine or like I think for me, it was coupled a lot with anxiety because it would be like, I can't be in that space. Yeah. And if I do, then how am I going to get out? And what's it going to feel like? And that is going to ruin me for 3 days. And then what if I have something, that is a huge part of it that again, people cannot see, but definitely comes with it. Are there any other coping strategies that you kind of learned that you would want to share or recommend to people that have helped you?
I think, again, it's taught me so much about self-advocacy because, again, like you said, people can't see it. And I think the hardest part is, say I have a migraine, then people think, okay, great, the next day you're fine. It's like, no, there's a little bit of that migraine hangover the next day. And I think also sometimes people might see, oh, she wasn't feeling good 2 days ago, but now she's out, so like she must be fine, and it's not bothering her. And so again, I think it's just getting really confident in that self-advocacy and saying, getting really clear about how you're feeling and expressing those kind of things. And I've helped a lot of my friends with like their own research and learning about these things. And I've gotten to a really good point with friends where they understand it and they have a good idea of the kind of situations that are more enjoyable. It's like, okay, we might be able to go out for a drink and I can hang out for an hour, or you could come over and then we could like hang out for many hours. And so I think too, it's them learning to accommodate me. And I had a friend of mine got married recently, and she texted me beforehand and she was like, hey, how can we accommodate you at the wedding? I'm going to seat you away from the DJ. There's no strong smells. Like, what else can we do for you? And I almost like cried reading it because I was like, you're thinking of me. Because again, I would have came prepared. Like, I would have came to the wedding with the noise canceling headphones, with everything, because I don't expect people to accommodate me. I'm like, okay, I'll be prepared. I know this is going to be an overstimulating environment. This is what I need. But I've finally gotten to the point where I have friends that think of me and think about how they can accommodate me in the situation. Because again, you don't have to miss out on these things. You just might have to prepare for it differently. And like I might have to not do something the day before to really prepare myself and rest. But you can still do these things. It's just really accommodating. But yeah, the emotional piece is hard and it takes a lot of work. But I think having the right support system around you and just not like gaslighting yourself and minimizing your own experience. Like what you're feeling is so valid, and just because people don't see it and don't understand it, like even when I explain it, people don't fully understand the like depth. I'm like, no, I'm feeling this all the time, like for a straight hour, but I'm not telling you that every minute for an hour. So again, being really confident and comfortable in my own experience. And I'm like, I've gotten to the point where I'm like, if people don't get it, they don't get it. But it's funny because now friends will get a migraine like, you know, maybe once a month or at random time, and they'll text me and they're like, I don't know how you do this. And it's funny because people might think that those kind of texts are annoying, but I really appreciate it because I'm like, yeah, and imagine that like 10, 15 times a month. And then I think that also helps my friends because they're like, oh yeah, you feel this way and you go to work and you go out and you do these things because it's valid to feel frustrated and to stay in and do these things, but eventually like I can't stop it from stopping me living my life. And
100%.
There was a point too where my fiance, I remember like maybe a year into my chronic migraine diagnosis, we had a hard conversation around, she was like, I feel like your personality changing. I feel like you're a little bit more pessimistic. Your outlook on life is a lot different. Like I used to be super outgoing and really positive. And again, that fear and anxiety, like it trickled into other parts of my life. Like I was just kind of scared to do anything new or anything overstimulating. It's like if it wasn't my house where I could control things, I didn't want to do it. And I had to push myself out there. And sometimes I would get a migraine, but like it's a learning process. And I knew that I was like, okay, I can't cure this tomorrow. I can't make it go away tomorrow. So how do I live with it and still live my life in a comfortable way where I can be comfortable? And it's also like I had to be comfortable like leaving early or, you know, doing my own thing. But it was like, oh, I can show up and still feel good. And it's better than pushing through and feeling awful or not going at all and then, you know, having FOMO or feeling like you're missing out on something. So it takes a lot. And I feel like it's also, I think the biggest thing is it's not a linear journey. I really thought like, cool, I'm going to get better. It's just going to get better. And it's really not. It's very up and down. Sometimes I get better. Sometimes it goes back. Sometimes something will trigger me and then it doesn't, or something that doesn't then does. Like my symptoms change often too. So it's a lot of patience, and I've just really learned, like, I'm going to control what I can control. And I've really learned what I can control, right? Like, you go out and you're like, oh, it's so overstimulating. What am I going to do? I'm like, okay, lights are bothering me, baseball cap. Sounds are bothering me, noise-canceling headphones. Cigarettes are bothering me, mask. Like, there's a lot of things I can do. So I just try to control what I can control and have peace with what I can't and just, like, really know my triggers and, you know, prepare as much as I can. And it's really helped a lot.
I love that. And that like self-talk too of like,
totally.
I have to be like, you're going to be okay. Like you're not going to die if you get this headache. Do what you can do. You can go, you can sleep eventually. Yes. Like it's going to be okay. Like
that is so important. I remember the first time my therapist told me to like talk to myself in the mirror, I was like, that's crazy. I'm not going to do it. I was like, yeah, for sure. I'm going to do that. And I was like, I'm not doing that. And then I started doing it and even just like walk around the house and like hyping myself up. And I think it's like, why wait for, I was like waiting for other people to support me and tell me what I needed. And it's like, oh, I can just tell myself that. And sure, it might seem silly to talk to myself in the mirror or like hype myself up as I'm getting ready. Like, you're going to do this. I'm proud of you. But I would sit around waiting for other people to do it. And I'm like, first of all, they can't read my mind. And I know exactly what I want to hear. Why can't I just tell myself that? And again, I've had a lot of great friends that's, you know, slowly watch my journey and will tell me they're proud of me that I made it out. And again, I think getting comfortable with like my achievements are a little bit different than my friends in their 20s, and that's fine. And I found friends that were, I think that's the thing with adulthood too, is like after college we all go our own ways, and some people have kids, some people get married, some people go into their careers, and you really realize like college, I felt like we were all doing the same thing, we all should be doing the same thing. But the beauty of adulthood is we've all gone our own ways, and so certain people are chasing different things. And it's really helped me, like, I'm doing, like, this is my journey, this is my life, I'm on my own path. And if nobody else is going to celebrate me and tell me they're proud of me, like, I'm going to pat myself on the back and tell myself I'm proud of myself.
No, I love that. And not everyone can understand what an accomplishment it is to get through this and get where you are now. Mm-hmm. I'm proud of you. It's very impressive. I'm very inspired by you and your outlook, and everything that you've shared, I think is going to be so, so helpful for people. I like to close by asking, like, what we call it, like a concussion hope message, but it can be concussion, migraine, like your message of hope for someone who might be in the absolute thick of it right now and feeling like, I'm never going to get better. I'm going to have, I'm never going to feel like myself again. And what would you say to that person?
I would say, first of all, you're not alone at all. Even if there's not people in your direct life physically around you that get it, there are going to be people online. I found support groups. You can join group therapy. There's so many people online. Like, just because the people around you and even physically might not directly understand it, that doesn't mean nobody will. So I think just knowing that you're not alone is huge. There's other people that experience it. And I think, too, the self-advocacy part is really huge. I think if you aren't being heard, just know that, like, don't give up. Because I think, too, that's the thing, like, with concussion, it's really frustrating because not everybody has the same education around it, and not everybody has the same experience around it. And so I felt like when I wasn't getting the care I needed, I did a lot of research and found a neurologist that had like similar identities to me. I was like, I want a woman neurologist. I want her to be a woman of color. And I found I was just not feeling understood and heard. And so I did a lot of personal research to find somebody that was like me, that had experience with concussions, that had dealt with that. Because also, just because you're a neurologist doesn't mean you necessarily have the understanding of migraine or concussion.
Right.
So I specifically found people, and you can look up like concussion organizations, and they often have, like directories or doctors they recommend. And you can also, I think too, what I realized that a lot of people that I hope will realize is that like they're the doctor, but like they need to help you as much as you help them. So I would interview them. It's not just like, what can I do for you? It's like, okay, so what is your knowledge on concussion? What's your knowledge on migraine? And really interviewing them, because you deserve good care. So also just not settling, because if you're not getting the care you need, and if you don't have people around you, just knowing there are people out there that'll help you. There are doctors that'll understand you, that'll validate you. I think, medicine's changing a lot and everything's changing, but you're not alone. And it can be really hard, but it doesn't have to be like that forever. And you can find ways to enjoy life again and get out there. And I think the biggest thing is just knowing you're not alone. There's other people that get it. There's other people that the satisfaction of somebody being like, yeah, I get, you don't even have to explain it. Like, I get it. I dealt with that yesterday is so validating. And that like deep breath you take, like, oh, I don't have to explain it. Like, I don't have to explain everything that you can't see, is huge. So finding your people, and again, they might not be physically around you. It might be online. It might be support groups, but there are other people that, and no matter the age, whether you're in your teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever, I think there's no like specific person or profile for concussion either. It can be anyone.
Right.
So also, just because you haven't seen yourself represented doesn't mean that there aren't other people just like you dealing with it. And finding other people is so validating, and genuinely the silver lining. Like, it's not like, I think if I could go back, obviously I wouldn't have wanted to deal with all this, but the community that I've found through this has like made it all worth it, and that's the silver lining. And if I don't know that I would go back and not do it, because the people that I've found, I've found the greatest community. And it's funny because these are people that I maybe never even met in life. They might be across the country, and I feel closer to you than people I've known my whole life, because you get this part of my life that nobody can see, that I don't have to explain. And so the community and the people that get it is the silver lining, and what's made it so beautiful. So find your people, because they're out there. You're not alone. And there are other people. And I've learned the best tips too I feel like I get the best tips And like my neurologist is great, but I think I get the best tips from the community. Like people will tell me this little hack they did, or like, oh, I do this, I do that, I've tried this, I've tried that. I get the best advice from like others that deal with it, that just get it.
I love that. For people who want to, join your community, see those tips, get connected with you, how can they find you?
The best way is on Instagram. It's my username is at CarmenRose Fiallo, my name, which I'm sure will be in the show notes in the title. So it's just my name on Instagram. And a lot of people make separate accounts like for their migraine journey and everything. And I've just kept all mine on my social media, my main account. Because I'm like, it's part of my life. It's not like a separate part of my life. It's not like, oh, I'm CarmenRose and CarmenRose with migraine and concussion. It's all one. So I just share about my life, my experience. And I love finding other people and connecting. My favorite part is when I get DMs that people are like, oh, I'm so glad I found your account. I didn't know anybody else that dealt with it. I was doing an injection for the first time and I was really scared to do it because I still record my injection every month.
Wow.
I've been doing them for like 3 years now. And again, it's, I think the online community's been the best part. So find me on Instagram.
That's so cool. Thank you so much. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you wish I would have?
No. I feel like we just started talking 5 minutes ago. That went so fast.
I know. You were amazing. Thank you so much for being here, CarmenRose.
Thank you.